Hello, 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 and welcome. I am joined now. I'm very excited because I'm joined by, as described earlier, a real life angel.
Uh-oh.
So when I was on with Kate this morning, we were saying how absolutely gorgeous on the inside and on the outside the beautiful Anna Taylor is. So welcome, Anna. It's lovely, lovely, lovely to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Emma. I don't know what to say to that one. Thank you.
And you were saying just before we set off talking that you're not used to being sat at that side, are you?
Well, I used to do a lot of interviews, but since I've kind of had my own Facebook page and my own thing, I like with Be Live, actually most of the time I've just been interviewing. So yeah, I keep looking I keep being like, where's the screen? Where's the screen? Where do I look at? Because I'm used to being on the other side.
So you do is it a tea and cake feature?
It's called Love and a Cup of Tea.
Having a cup of tea.
Love, because basically I'm all about love, right? I'm all about the love. And I wanted it to be an interview kind of chat like we're doing, but also help people to feel like it's informal and feel like it's friendly and just really talking and connecting with people that I would otherwise talk with anyway, like Kate or, you know, like really good friends of mine, because to me, that is really where it's at, you know, not just like we're doing, feeling like you can just connect with people and having a way to share things without it being like, you must ask this question and you must ask that question. So I wanted it to be, and when I was talking to a friend of mine, she goes, yeah, but she said, really what you do when you talk to people, even when you do a reading, it's like loving a cup of tea because it's really what you're doing. So I was like, okay. So yeah, so it's loving a cup of tea, and that's kind of sums me up really, I think.
I think that is a beautiful, beautiful summing up of what you do and how you do it in everything. Because you know, whenever you see any of your work, when you go to your Facebook page, it just feels like somebody's giving you a bit of a hug.
Yeah,
And I,
that's really that's probably the biggest compliment you could give me, because that's kind of what I would pride myself on, really, is to make people feel like they're not alone, that they're supported, that they're comforted. And if we all feel like that, we can do a lot of stuff, can't we? We can get through a lot of stuff. So yeah, I would say that's what my aim is most of the time.
you're bossing it, girl.
Yeah. Exactly. That's kind of feel like, you know, if people ask me what I do, I go, yeah, that's what I do.
I'm bossing a big hug all of the time. I'm hugging the world.
Yeah, I give a big hug to people most of the time. Yeah. So yeah, so that's the thing. I would start to see a few comments coming up. Michelle, hi, and I can see comments coming up on here. So I can't keep up with them all and talk to you at the same time.
Yeah, I'll pull them out as we go. And as I've said on each interview, if you've got anything that you want us to cover, if you want to ask us anything, then do just drop it in, because we will work with whatever you want from us, because that's what it's all about. It's about, you know, answering what you want. But first off, would you like to tell us a little bit about your story for those that don't know you, for those that have not come across you before?
Yeah.
Who is Anna Grace Taylor?
Who am I? Well, I'm a hugger, a lover of life and people and angels and all things a bit crazy. I think that's what Kate would say, wouldn't she? You know, I've been thinking about that a lot, because there's so many different parts of me, and I would say that I actually don't like to be too defined, because there are so many things I love. But exactly right, we don't just fit into one little box.
No labels. No labels.
But I would say, you know, when it all comes down to things, is, apart from the love, because it's all about love to me, is that I'm a messenger, I'm a communicator, because everything I do, whether it's the angel readings, the mentoring, the singing, the talking on Facebook, the making the posters, doing interviews, you know, all of that, it's all communicating. And that is what I absolutely love. And ever since I was little, really, for those of you who don't know, I was born at 29 weeks with my twin sister. We weren't expected to survive. and doctors basically said, all right, we're just going to do whatever we can. So very scary for my parents. In fact, it was just 37 years ago, because I did have a birthday, as you pointed out this morning. And it was really...
37, does she? You're making us all look like we've had hard paper rounds.
Well, I'm really bad at telling anyone's age. So there you go. So I was 37 years ago. It was all a bit scary for my parents. So when I was 18 months old, I wasn't crawling, I wasn't walking, I wasn't doing the things that my twin sister was doing. And I was basically diagnosed with cerebral palsy, which affects my legs. So at the time, it took a lot of physiotherapy for me to move and walk. I learned to walk really when I was 6 years old. And since then, I've kind of learnt to walk 3 times. Various different things going on. Huh?
I've done 2.
Okay, 3, yeah, whatever. So we've all had our things, and I always say that to people when they say, "Oh, just like all of us, we walk and talk," and I'm like, well, actually, walking was a little bit more challenging for me. But because of that, even when I was really small, I would sit and chat to people. I would talk to them. People, even when I was a teenager, I remember, we had this place where we would go if we couldn't do sports and games and things like that. And obviously I didn't do that. And we had this place where we'd all go, and there's a few people with various different things going on in their lives. And even then, people would sit and talk to me about their deepest, darkest secrets. I remember having a really good friend who confided in me that she'd been abused. And lots of different things that for some reason people just felt comfortable with me. And so I always wanted to make a difference. I always felt like I wanted to do something that made a difference. And I obviously felt different anyway, right? Because I already had a different life and a different body to a lot of people. And when I was 14 years old, I had a lot of surgery to help my walking. And my health just went poof, downhill from that point onwards. And it just took me on a journey of really doing things alternatively. So I did massage and reflexology and energy healing and lots of different things. And I would find myself having conversations with people, even at 16, 17, 18 years old, where I'd be like, I don't really know how I know that. I've never talked about that with friends. Yeah. I've never said that to family, but I just kind of know that synchronicity and energy and miracles, that's all real and that's part of life. And I just started to have my own experiences, and I saw an angel when I was 20 years old, big bright light in the middle of my room, and you can't really deny that, to be honest. It's like, oh, okay. So I had that experience, and it just took me on this whole path to doing what I do now. So here I am talking to you. That's the short version. But that was really what led me to do what I do. Obviously, I've done lots of different things, around that since then. But it made me realise that there was a reason for my pain. And I think all of us in some way can relate to that, because at really difficult times, we can go kind of, what on earth is that? I don't know what's going on. I have no idea why this is happening to me. And then it all starts to kind of come together. And some things, of course, never really make sense, do they? I mean, things sometimes just make no sense at all. But for me, I could see that all the things that I had been through gave me a lot of compassion, and I will never, ever judge you, because believe it or not, there's probably something in your experience that I have been through, or something has gone on. And I just feel like that's what the angels do, really, is that they're there to help you through all of it. And I just really resonated with them. I really saw a lot of comfort from them in my own life. And so I know that there are amazing things that can happen when you tap into them. So, yeah, I wouldn't even say it's work for me. It's my life. I don't really even consider what I do work. It's just what I do,
So that was when you were looking at that journey, you were in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And it was probably not energy work and things like that. Certainly weren't anywhere near as, they're not mainstream now, but, as
no.
at that time.
No.
how did you kind of start to find out more?
Weirdly enough, at the time when I was having healing treatments myself, a lady had a deck of angel cards by Doreen Virtue. And Doreen Virtue obviously was nobody that I knew of, but I knew that, you know, from looking her up, that she had different products and various things that, you know, but then, even then, she only had probably a couple of decks and a couple of books. And I looked on the back of this deck because I started to get messages about studying, about new beginnings. At the time, I was very sick. I didn't have a job. I had no money. So I didn't have a clue what that really meant. But I thought, you know, I'm just going to look her up. Anyway, I actually saw her on the television, would you believe, which was not a thing that happened in those days. And I thought, well, she must have a website, which was, again, very unusual at the time because I didn't even have a website then. And I looked her up and this big course just kind of flashed at me saying, you know, angel therapy, come and learn. So I knew I had to do it. And I just started to, you know, I guess I started to just meet people that were like me. And I started to think, well, even if people in my village think I'm a bit nuts, which, by the way, most people that I know in, you know, in my area still have no idea what I do, funnily enough. But, you know, there are lots of people because of Skype and because of, you know, the phone, like you and I are doing right now. You don't have to be anywhere near the person. So I am really fortunate that I have been able to just connect with people, even when I didn't have a clue what I was doing, even when I had no idea of how to be self-employed or anything. You know, I've always sort of met the right people. And because you're doing something a bit different, I think that, you know, Facebook, all those kind of things give us so much opportunity to realise that even in our own little community, even if we feel like the weirdest person on the planet, there are always going to be other people in the world that are actually really cool with what you're doing. So I love it for that reason.
Absolutely. I know that I had a conversation with a couple of people last week where they were talking about, you know, how woo-woo is too woo-woo.
Right.
And personally, I don't think you can be too woo-woo.
You know, I was thinking about that too, because I am really woo-woo, of course. I'm very woo-woo. And to a lot of people, I'm off the scale woo-woo. But I also am really grounded. You know how I talk. You know how I am. If I don't understand what you're talking about, if you're trying to be really clever with me, I really don't want to know. So I'm quite grounded in the way that I talk to people. And I agree that you can do some really powerful kind of out there stuff, but I think you can make it very accessible to people. And I think you can be really simple about it. I don't think it has to be something really like, you know, highbrow, esoteric, because I think it really separates people. And that, I think you and I spoke a little bit about that. And I know I've spoken a lot about it to Kate, but there can be a lot of, you know, I am better than you because I've done this and I know about this chakra and I've done that kind of thing. And you must be like this because you haven't learned that. There is a lot of that goes on. And I'm just like the opposite of that in a way. So if you talk to me in a language I don't understand, then it's like, you know, I get kind of put off. So I am very woo-woo in a lot of ways. But I also like to say that I'm, you know, doing the best I can to be human as well as all of that, because that actually is what makes you relatable. So, yeah.
Mo says, but I also love science, and I don't think that they're exclusive. I think that a lot of it's based in science, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, I mean, I was just having a conversation with a family member of mine, actually, who was wanting to learn more about things. And I was trying to explain in a way that she would understand. And energy is energy, right? We're even if you're a really scientific person and don't understand the spiritual side of it, you know, energy, we are energy, you know, we're all made up of energy, scientifically proven. So actually, even if you're talking about things like the law of attraction, or you're talking about intuition, even if you don't understand that on a spiritual level, you can see it as like, well, if we're all energy, then we're going to have a reaction to something, aren't we? We're going to have a response to something. And therefore, there is going to be something that happens within our bodies or within our emotions or feelings. So yeah, it's there, isn't it? It doesn't take rocket science to understand that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I know that you're most well known right now for your angel work. And would you say that that's kind of the part of your work that's closest to your heart? With you saying that was kind of the beginning of your evolution?
I think because whatever I do, whatever kind of message I give, or whether I'm singing or whether I, do other things within my spirituality, they have been my best friends, really. They have been the energy that I have most resonated with for such a long time. Yeah, that even if I don't just do the readings, or if I do different things, they're just like I said, they're just a part of me. So yeah, I think so. I would never want to say that I didn't do that, because to me, like, it encompasses all of that, really. So yeah, I love the angels. And Archangel Michael, we talk about Archangel Michael a lot, but if it wasn't for him and learning about him, I actually believe that I would still be really sick. So I think he saved my life on a few occasions, and I would never ever want to dismiss that, because it's just the truth. So I would never take away anything from the angels, regardless of what I did.
Mm-hmm. Because I think that you are much more than just the angels and communicating from the angelic realm. I think that there's so many more facets to your talents.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that you are, and we kind of laughed about it earlier, but I think that you are quite an angelic presence in any event. And you're very calming and you're very centered, and as soon as you talk to you, it feels like that, like you're a bit like jumping in a nice warm bath.
Oh. This is my answer to that, is that when you really start to tap into who you really are, which is a human in this life experience, but we are so much more than that. We are expansive, divine, huge, massive, light, love beings. We are not any of this. I think when you start to really feel that on a deep level, and believe me, there are times when I absolutely don't feel that, and actually one of my good friends would say, and I'm sure you can relate to that, many people watching, because we're all human, is that she said to me that what she feels most about me is that I live both sides of the coin every single moment. And what she means by that is, because of my body, I am very aware of my limitations on a big scale. I can't just grab a cup of tea and run across the street. I can't, carry heavy stuff. I can't walk really very far on my own. And yet I am very aware of that thing that we just talked about. So I think the thing is that my experience gives me that ability to tap in so much to both sides. And I feel that because I've really had deep experiences that have taught me that we are so much more than that, I think that's probably the energy that you feel, because we are all of that. That is the truth. There's nothing special about me at all. It's just that I've probably become a bit more aware. I've just probably become a bit more aware of that, and when I say that, I love Mooji. One of the teachers and speakers that I listen to a lot is Mooji. And for anyone wanting to, find out about him, his name is Mooji, and he's got an amazing Facebook page as well. He does these live satsangs, so even if he can't be there live, he talks to people and he talks about the truth of life. And, you know, he says that if you can describe that, then it's not that. So, I just think when you're really in touch with that, whatever that is, you can't help but feel that when you're in the presence of that. So that's the difference, I think, is that when you really start to feel the energy of what it really is, then everyone starts to feel it too, because they're recognizing themselves in that. That's what I feel.
Did you ever get, or have you ever had times in your life where you've been frustrated by your body?
Oh, Lord, absolutely. I was going to say, please don't think I'm some sort of saint who just has it all figured out. Absolutely. In fact, one of my things that I might do something with, I haven't figured it out yet, but I often call it my wonky halo. Because, you know, like, yes, okay, we can say, oh, yeah, I'm in touch with the angels, but I am also, as I said, very real and can get very stroppy and very frustrated, because, you know, I am a human being, regardless of what we just talked about, because I do live both of those experiences, and my body has been my biggest pain and my biggest teacher. Yes. You know, it's the biggest pain I have ever been through, because it's so upsetting sometimes. And if I said to you that I didn't feel that sometimes, I would be totally lying. But I've also understood that I chose this experience, and I have learned so much about life because of my body. So yeah, I'm not the sort of person that can sit there and tell you that if somebody gave me a magic wand and said, Anna, you can now walk and be free and run across the road and carry my nephews or whatever, I would never sit there and tell you that I wouldn't want that to happen. Because I of course I would. But if it meant that I wouldn't be who I am, that would be a whole nother thing, because I really appreciate a lot of who I am. I just get really pissed off with the fact that I can't run across the road. So, you know, there's a big difference between that. And it's we all have our big major buttons, don't we, that get pushed, and that is definitely mine. But one of the things I really want to do is to help people to understand that, you know, you can do anything regardless of what your body does, right? You can do absolutely anything. And I actually was at my birthday weekend this weekend, and somebody who I'd spoken to for probably 2 minutes with my friend, who was actually in front of a restaurant that he was trying to invite us in, and he thought that maybe it was a good marketing thing, maybe, I don't have a clue. He said, oh, it's really wheelchair accessible. I was like, great, and that's really nice, you know, thanks for that piece of information. I didn't say that, but I was thinking, oh, you know, okay, because I even forget sometimes that is, you know, the truth of it. And he was chatting away and trying to get us to come into this restaurant and to this bar. And then he looked at me and he just went, can I ask you, he goes, what's wrong with you? What's going on? And it still catches me off guard, because I can't actually believe that someone in 2 minutes can ask me that kind of question. Because I thought, it always goes through my head, what if I was dying? You know, what if I was dying? What if I just lost the use of my leg? None of which is true. But it's not a very easy question to answer, is it, really, in 5 seconds? And I just, you know, my friend, when we walked off, because I gave him an explanation and I told him, you know, I have some brain damage and I'm not able to walk that well. She said, well, the only thing that's wrong with him is that he asked you that question. And I was like, well, that is kind of true. And I think the point what I'm trying to make is that those kinds of things are really challenging for me. But I also realise that is also part of why people like me and people who have different challenges exist, because I really want to be able to properly say, next time somebody asks me that question, I want to say, I'd really be interested to know why you are asking me that after 2 minutes. You know, is there nothing else that you could ask me after 2 minutes? And I think it's because people want to feel connected. I really feel like people want to feel connected to who we are. But it's like me saying, Emma, why do you wear glasses? Can you just ask me? Can you just tell me? Why do you wear glasses? Can you just let me know why that is? You would think that was the most odd question. But people, for some reason, think it's okay to ask me why I'm sitting down. You know, and I will never really understand it, but I also actually in my own journey really want to understand other people, because I want to see that actually they're not being mean, and they're not being mean, they're just curious, they want to know. But coming from my position, it feels a bit confronting, and it feels very impersonal, you know, and I'm sure nobody really in 5 seconds or a minute has asked you why you wear glasses. So you know, it just feels a bit odd to me. But I also feel because of that, I want to be the person to change those perceptions and to be able to say, yeah, I do this, and this, despite having those limitations. And I think that is what I'm most proud of, really.
Yeah, and I think that you have a child there.
Yeah. Why? Exactly. No, that's totally different. That is totally different. Yeah, exactly, because a child is asking from a point of view of, you are different to how I usually would see people. And the best part of children is if you say to a child, you know, I just use it to move around sometimes, and you know, sometimes how people do, you know, people sometimes can't hear or they can't see, well, my legs just don't work quite the same as yours, and they go, oh, all right then, and then yeah, they're fine. And they don't ever ask you again. And they're like, oh, fine. Yeah. And they're just asking because it's different and because it's from that place. And that is a completely different thing. But the thing is, if adults were more comfortable with that, children would actually think all of it was okay, right? Because usually it's to do with the adults that you surround yourself with. And, you know, we all have differences. We're all judgmental sometimes. But because I've got a very obvious one, you know, I think people can be a little bit kind of, whoa, in your face about it. But I've really understood that my job is to just accept who I am. And so if people are a bit weird, I can go, oh, well, it's all right. It's just my job to remind them that that's okay. You know, that there's nothing wrong with me, and I just happen to be sitting down. And that feels like my part of my mission as well, you know.
I like that a lot.
Good.
So when you are working on a day-to-day basis, I want to know a little bit about your spiritual squad, you know, from an angelic realm, from a guide's realm, you know, what sort of people, beings are you tapping into each and every day? You know, who is in your spiritual squad?
Yeah, well, I would definitely say Michael. You know, he's kind of around a lot, because I tend to work with him a lot with people, particularly if we're working with, you know, clearing old stuff out the way and helping people to feel, you know, because everyone's sensitive, everyone feels a lot of stuff, especially right now in the world, and he is so close to us on Earth. He really wants us to, you know, get out there and be, you know, loud and proud and, you know, in our power and in our purpose. So I always feel like I'm calling on him a lot. You know, Raphael, because he's so healing and he works very much in tandem with Michael. So I call on him a lot. He's that emerald green, beautiful emerald green colour. I am a big, I love them all, really. I was going to say I'm a big fan of, but I love them all. I work also a lot with Gabriel, because Gabriel's the messenger, the communicator. Haniel, because Haniel means grace, and my name is Anna Grace Taylor, and she to me is very, very graceful, very helps us to be sharing our passion and our intuition. She's really great. So personally, I work a lot with her. And as far as guides, you know, one of my main guides is Mother Mary. So that's sometimes, you know, you're saying you feel that hug.
Yeah.
She's that, really. To me, that's what you feel when you feel that. Because she is pure love. You know, she's pure love in a human way. So just like we say, she's not just like, oh, I'm an angel and I'm completely, you know, light. And she is that, but she's also had the human experience. So she came to me a long time ago, and she was the one actually who told me that if I added grace to my name, that I would add power to everything I did. Because Anna means grace. And I never had a middle name. So when that dream happened, I was like, okay, maybe I will. But it worked out really well because my grandmother, my living grandmother, her name is Elizabeth Grace. I also have a cousin who's Lucy Grace. And so I could just tell my family, like, I just wanted to be Grace because they were Grace. But there was a lot more to it than that. So I used to just be Anna Taylor. Everything that you see before 2010 is Anna Taylor, and now I'm Anna Grace Taylor for that reason. So she's there very strongly with me. I work a lot with all of the feminine energy, and we actually, I don't know if I was going to ask you about that because I did a card for you, didn't I? We pulled a card for your Facebook, and that was Mary Magdalene, and Mary Magdalene is also always around. And part of the work that I've started to do in the last probably year or so, more consciously, is work with a group of beings called the Roses. And the Roses include Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. Because if you think about, and I didn't, you know, I just thought, oh, these beings are coming in. Oh, this is really nice. Who the heck, you know, how are they? And what does this mean? And oh, how are they going to work? And I realized, because there's Aphrodite as well is there. So Aphrodite is the goddess of love and romance and femininity and passion. There's also Lady Nada, who is also, again, a really beautiful feminine goddess. And all of them, including a couple of others, all of them were symbolized by roses. So they are all called, they're, as a group of beings, they're called the Roses. And so when I work with them, it's all about going right deep into your heart here. So you're coming out of your head and into your heart. And when I work with people now, that's why it doesn't matter whether you are giving a piece of guidance or whether we're just talking. To, you know, right now, that's why you feel it, because it's the energy. It's not necessarily what's being said, it's the energy of that. So I love all of those and they are definitely a part of my team.
So when you are connecting into that guidance and, you know, really kind of potentially looking for answers or looking for some direction on something, how do you connect in with your squad?
Mostly I just know. For me, it's claircognizant, so I just go, it goes in my head and out my mouth. So yeah, usually that. I was very much a clairsentient person, so I felt everything. When I was very young, I was completely overwhelmed by my feelings, and I think that was why I also became very sick, because I was so highly sensitive to everything. I was like a walking sponge, you know. So I was like, whoa, okay, I need to learn how to not do that. And Michael was one of the reasons why that became a lot easier for me. And so I really just developed my knowing, because I felt like it was a lot easier for me to just know. I didn't need to feel everyone's stuff to help them. I could just know. And so I do a lot of knowing. I also sometimes see things and I also hear things, but probably knowing is my strongest sense.
And, you know, when you're working with other people to connect, you know, to their own guidance, and, you know, I know that you do amazing readings. I've had a reading from you. It's fantastic. But when you're saying to people, why not try working with your angels? What would your top tips be to try and get them onto that path of being able to listening and hear
Well,
what's.
first of all, definitely ask them, because believe it or not, people go, but I don't have any, or I'm not, and I'm like, have you even asked them to help you? And they go, no. So I think asking them is definitely the number one thing, because unless you're in a life or death situation, they can't help you, because we have free will. So even if you might know that you have angels, if you're really struggling one, have you ever done that? You really struggle all day and you go, oh my God, and then you go, oh, I haven't even asked for help with that. So they're waiting for you to like actually ask them. So ask them. Yeah, me too. Ask them. And then listen. And by listening, I mean, sometimes you have to just be still. Like, what is it that I am actually feeling in this moment? What is it that I'm actually knowing? I heard you and Kate talk this morning about discernment and really listening. Like, that just feels really off to me. Or, oh, wow, that feels like a really great idea. That is your angels saying, hey, this is a good idea. Or, you know, so if you're not actually spending time really listening to either your body or to the inspirations that you're getting, or to the sudden, like, oh, that would be a great idea, you know, they can't do any more than that, because they're always trying to help you. It's just that we actually have to listen. So I would spend sometimes some quiet time. If you are into meditation, then great, do that. Sometimes for me, it might just be listening to a piece of music that I really feel connected to. Sometimes it's even doing the dishes, you know, but it's that really quiet space. I would also recommend, if you are wanting to just be open to that kind of energy, that you are open to just really noticing the blessings that you already have, because the quickest way to raise your vibration is to be grateful and to feel more peaceful, because they're on that level, right? They're in that space. So even though they're trying to help us sometimes, if we're really focused on this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem, it's really hard to hear any of the other guidance coming in. So I would do that. And I would also maybe keep a journal or a pad of paper where you can just start to write some of those little, you know, little messages. Or even if it's like, oh, I saw a feather today, or oh, I really, you know, I was really excited by this. Because sometimes, I don't know about you, but I can discount a lot of stuff that I receive, because I'm like, oh yeah, that was just a little idea I had. But then if it keeps coming back to me, I know that it's the angels.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned their feathers, and I know that for lots of people, the white feather is the heads up that your angels are around. Mm-hmm. Is there any other things to kind of look out for?
Yeah.
Or is it that they're always here and you just need to listen?
Yeah, to me, they're always here, but I call them hello moments. Like, they're just saying hello. So for me, they can include number sequences, like if you see certain numbers. Mm-hmm. All of the numbers mean different things, by the way. So, you know, it can be different. We won't go through all of them now, but sometimes those repetitive numbers. Mm-hmm. I see flashes a lot of light, mm-hmm. you know, or I can suddenly look like you said, I feel like I've just been hugged, you know. So that hugging or that cool breeze, even, you know, feeling a bit cool when there's no window open, or what just happened. I also get like a little touch on my hair sometimes, like it'll feel like somebody's playing with my hair, that kind of thing. Or it could just be that you suddenly go, oh wow, oh, I felt that, you know, I don't know what I felt, but I just felt something. That is your angels also talking. I don't know about you, but I sometimes go, oh, I just felt something. And that is energy. That's your angels talking to you. Also pennies, you know, if you're visual and you see pennies, sometimes pennies or coins come to you. There's dreams. Have you ever had dreams where you go like, that felt so real to me? Or that felt like I was really being given a message. Sometimes our dreams can be very jumbled, and you know, our mind sorting things out, but there can also be those ones that you just know are really powerful. So that is also a way that they talk to us, because we're out of the way then, right? Our minds are out of the way.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of different things. You know, music is a big one for me, because they know I love music. So I'll hear things on the radio that will be like the perfect message that I just needed to hear in that moment. Or it could be a loved one that you've lost that will suddenly say, hey, I'm right here, you know, because there's that favorite song that they love that's just played on the radio. So I think that they can be really tangible signs. I just think sometimes we're kind of expecting, I think sometimes when people think of angels, they think of like, oh wow, if I don't see this massive huge figure in my living room, then I'm not connecting with the angels. And I think that that's really untrue. I feel like you can absolutely have that experience, but a lot of people feel that they are not experiencing them if they don't have that experience, and then it closes people off to so much love because they feel like, you know, there's only certain people that will experience angels, and as you know, that's not the case.
Absolutely. And do you think that we tend to just seek their support in hard times rather than be open to it all of the time?
Yes, I mean, it's like we're kind of trained, aren't we? Like crisis, you know, something really major has happened and we have to call on the angels. You know, it doesn't have to be a really crisis situation. For me, you know, I'm calling on them, you know, if I've got my work to do or if I need to go find something to shop, you know, if I need to find a perfect gift for someone, I'm a real, you know, because I don't walk very far, you know, if I get a car parking space, that is blimmin' useful. That is really useful. So I ask them for that. I ask them to help my family. I ask them to help me with my body. You know, it doesn't have to be when you're feeling really awful. And, you know, and also lots of people who might be worrying about loved ones or feeling like their children need a bit of extra support, you can always call on your angels for that. In fact, you know, they always say that Mother Mary and the angels, there's nothing greater than when a mother asks for their children or a child asks, because that pure open heart, because we're asking so lovingly for that help, it's just instant. They absolutely will come instantly to your side because it makes such a huge difference. So yeah, absolutely, you don't have to be massively stressed or in a life or death situation to ask angels. In fact, they really want us to ask for those practical things because that's why they exist. Otherwise, we may as well just be, you know, meditating all day and just connected to divine energy the whole time. And that's not our human experience, is it?
No. Are you a big meditator?
You know, I have to tell you, meditation for me often involves music. So when I am listening to music or if I'm singing is when I'm most meditative. So I very rarely don't just sit still for half an hour and just be quiet. Sometimes I do, but I used to find it really hard to switch my mind off. So I found that doing things that were either music based or something that I already found really lovely, like going to sit in a garden or something like that, to me was just as connecting than me just trying to be still for half an hour. So now I am, but I don't maybe necessarily do it in the ways that people think that is meditation. I really, that's another thing, is I like to make people aware that meditation is just finding that stillness, whatever it is. I don't know about you, but sometimes I can get the best ideas ever in the shower. So I'm like, exactly, you know, when you're just doing that automatic thing that you do, it, for some reason, there is a place, isn't there, where it's like, wow, that's a really great idea, or oh wow, I feel so great right now, because you're kind of on that really beautiful automatic pilot thing that means that you're not really thinking. So to me, that's all meditation, you know, it's all meditation. So, and also, if you want a tip, for me, if you wanted to just learn just to gradually listen a bit more deeply, is just close your eyes and just have an intention that when you get to zero, that you're going to have more clarity, maybe an answer, peace, whatever it is that you really want in that moment. And you start counting in your mind backwards from 100 to 0. Well, for a start, you can't be doing anything else if you're counting from 100 to 0. So it's a really good way of going, I'm just focusing on that. And because you're just focusing on that, you are automatically getting into that place, right? You're automatically haven't got, you know, tomorrow's shopping list in your head, or what you've got to do for tomorrow's lunches, or whatever it is. And if you do wander, you go, right, okay, at 100, 99, 98. And so it's just a really, and everyone can count, right? So I find it's a really simple way, and it's a really quick way, because you can do it in the middle of anything. You could take 5 minutes and do that. You can do it for half an hour if you want to. But I really like that method because it gives people a place to focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
try it.
Yeah, it's a good one. And I think that because so many of us think that we have to sit in a certain place and empty our minds and, you know, sit still. I can't sit still.
Yeah.
I'm just not able. Okay, I've got to, if I'm going to be still, I'm asleep. I'm probably not very still then either.
Yeah.
So you know,
so your still space comes from driving, maybe, does it?
Yeah. I can connect in to that meditative headspace, but it doesn't mean that my body will be still.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and actually, if you think of yoga, dance, anything like that, that's still a meditative practice. It's not still at all, is it?
I'm actually going to start Tai Chi next week.
Oh, see, that's really good for you that likes to feel like you're doing something and still being, absolutely. So no, I think that that's one of the myths of meditation, is that you have to just be still. And again, like the angels, it's really about letting it work for you, because it's not a case of whether somebody is more connected, or it's just that it's practice. It literally is like using a muscle. Like if you go to the gym, like I know you and Kate were talking about that, you know, getting your exercise in, and me as well. So we're doing that. But, you know, it's literally like your spiritual muscle. It has to be worked, because we have to learn to trust it and have to learn to use it. So same thing. Absolutely.
Lisa says the shower for sure. All of my good ideas in the car too. Yeah. It's them things, like you said, it's them things that you autopilot do, I think, a lot of the time. Yeah, because whilst there's some level of concentration, because you're task led.
Yes. So it gives your mind a bit of a, like, I'm doing that. I'm having to look at that. But I'm also kind of in that space as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You, I've just seen a notification come on my page that you've just uploaded your card of the week to YouTube.
I do 3 cards. I do a weekly reading, which means that there's a card for Monday, Tuesday, a card for Wednesday, Thursday, and a card for the weekend. And every Monday, without fail, that is posted to my YouTube and to my Facebook page. Yeah.
Can you remember, here we are, can you remember the cards for this week?
I can, actually. It was Archangel Michael, trusting heaven. So really trusting, and you know, there's lots of stuff always that we can feel insecure about, fearful about, all of it. It's all over the news, everything. So he was really reminding us of, which are we going to choose? Are we going to choose to trust? Are we going to choose to have faith? Or are we going to go into that fear? So really watching at the beginning of the week how we're reacting to things. Are we doing things out of trust, or are we doing something out of fear? The middle of the week was the angel called Hope, and she was about love and acceptance and choosing loving thoughts and really being loving to ourselves. So what they were saying was that also includes how we treat ourselves. Are we treating ourselves like we would our best friends, a loved one? Are we being, you know, kind to ourselves in the way that we're actually operating? So that kind of goes hand in hand with both of those cards, really. And then the last card was, now let me think. Oh, it was Mary Magdalene. It was the teacher one that was in your reading. In fact, at the end of that reading, I said to people that I was on your page today because this card came up for your page, Mary Magdalene. It was teacher, so it was reminding us that we all have a message to share. It doesn't matter if it's a literal teacher, whether we do a class or whether we work with children. we all have something to offer. So at the end of the week, they were really reminding us to step into that leadership role. It doesn't matter how we do that, whether it's the way that we're doing it right now, speaking out loud. It could be through a creative project. It could be something that we feel really passionate about. But there's a lot of energy. She's come up a lot the last few weeks. There's a lot of energy about us sharing our message and being as unique as we want to, and really getting out in the world. I think we really need it, honestly. We're really needed. So yeah, it's a good time to believe in ourselves, trust, and get out there.
Loving it. So there's only one question that I give you a bit of a heads up on before, because I thought that it might be a complicated one.
Yep.
I asked you, what is your favourite card deck?
This is my favourite card deck, and I will do a plug for it because I love it that much. It's Keepers of the Light Oracle cards by Kyle Gray and Lily Moses. Lily Moses' artwork is absolutely phenomenal in this deck. And I actually, before she did this deck, I found her Mother Mary. Yeah, I found her Mother Mary because it's stunning. It's a stunning image. I posted it a lot, and it's actually now in this deck. There's a version of that Mother Mary in this deck, and I fell in love with it probably, I don't know, it must have been 4 or 5 years ago. And she is a beautiful person who I've also got to know, funnily enough, in the last few months. And the energy of her artwork really adds to that deck, and I absolutely love it. So for my readings, though, I have to say, for my readings, if you were to come for a reading with me, I often still use the Angel Tarot by Radley Valentine, because there's so much detail in that and so much information. So I use that a lot in my readings. But as far as my personal favourite at the moment, and the ones that I really feel drawn to, it's got to be Keepers of the Light. So, yeah. Oh, see, there you go. Yeah, I love that Mother Mary card.
Isn't she?
She just, there's something about it that just kind of pops. She just has that beautiful energy about her. So I absolutely love Lily Moses. I think people, I think it's easy, isn't it, to kind of go cards by this person, then artwork is a tiny thing, but the artwork is a massive part of a deck. They're both a really great combination. I know she's working on another one with Kyle right now, and it takes so flipping long to do tons and tons of cards. So I love it for that reason. And I love loads. Like you, I probably have, I don't know, at least 20 decks, at least. So I feel like I'm constantly kind of shifting and changing what I like. But at the moment, that is my favourite.
Do you think that you get, when you're doing readings for other people, do you get drawn to a particular deck for that person?
Sometimes, like the other day, I used this deck that I never really use, because it just is not so great for general kind of messages. It's a beautiful deck, but it's not that specific. But I pulled this card for my client, and it was the message in the booklet, which I never do, by the way, like you'll never see me read a message in a booklet, but these cards really, the channeled message in the booklet is incredible. And I started reading it to her, and it was literally everything we just talked about in the session. So talk about like, oh wow, I was definitely supposed to read that to you, because it was like she was talking just like I had spoken to my client in a reading. So I have done, and it is really powerful. But I think when I do that, I always know that it's for an extra special reason, because usually I always just have a couple of decks that I use for my connection rather than being about my client. But yeah, I have had that happen, and it's really awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I know. Oh wow, time flies, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? Would anybody like to ask us anything? Because we are open to any questions that anybody
wants. So you can ask me anything you like.
Anything that you would like at all. The other thing that I want to say is that your readings are more than readings.
Oh.
You don't do a reading and these are the cards and that is it. You know, you're much more of a I feel it's more spiritual guidance, and it's more, yeah, it's more kind of, it's like you're holding my shoulders and popping you in that direction.
Yeah. I've been very sort of hesitant actually to even call it readings for a while. Like I and it may be something that I start to kind of know what it really is. But yeah, I actually hesitate to call it a reading a lot of the time, because I think people think that, you know, just going to give me an answer to this and that's all fine. And I think it's really about guidance. It's about supporting a person. It's about holding the highest vision for that person. It's about really connecting to the truth of who they are. And that isn't about telling you whether in 2 weeks you're going to meet, you know, this person. And it can be, of course. Sometimes that does happen. But, you know, because we have so much free will, and because there are so many choices, and because life happens, you know, I believe anyone that tells you that this is definitely going to happen and you must do this, that is not supportive at all, because life doesn't work like that. So to me, yeah, it's guidance. It's about really recognizing that you're tapping in to the truth of a person, and that's why you feel that sense of being held when you're doing a session. Yeah.
Michelle says, Anna, when you speak to the angels, do you see their faces, or is it the feelings and flashing lights that you mentioned?
Again, it's a variety. I've had times when I really see like a huge light or a being, and I actually see the being. And other times I will just know that that's what they're saying, or I'll feel the energy of it. So it's a variety of different ways, usually a combination. So I'll see a very quick image of that being, or a quick symbol of that being, or a light, and then I'll get this is what is coming through. So it's kind of a multi-layered experience. Yeah.
Cool. And you know, if you have that kind of, how do you identify who's on the line, caller?
Who's on the line? Yeah. Good question. I think that also comes down to practice a little bit, because, for example, I know, you know, with the certain colours, if I see that beautiful green, emerald green, I know it's Raphael. If it's the royal blue purple colour, I know it's Michael. If I feel that really loving hug and I get that kind of certain feeling that I get, I know it's Mary. You know, like, it's different for all of them, but it does, I think for me to say it has to be this way is to deny you to have your own experience. But certain colours, if you can start to associate the certain angels or beings with certain colours, I think that can really help, because not only can you use the colours to then invoke them, so you can go like, oh yeah, green is Raphael, I'm going to imagine green all around me. But you can also, if you start to see that, you can be like, oh right, okay, so that means that this person, so if I, for example, Emma, if I saw, let me just see, okay, so if I see Archangel Gabriel with you, I'm going to instantly know, like, oh, wow, okay, so she's really, or he, because Gabriel's he or she, depends on what you feel. But, okay, so this is a person who really is a communicator, who does a lot of that in her work. She's probably somebody that also wants to be, you know, wants to make sure she's taking care of herself as well, because she's also a real nurturer. She's also the angel of mothers, so you probably have children, you're dealing with that. So when I see an angel with someone, there's usually at least 1 or 2 reasons that resonate with that person, and also make me go, oh yeah, you want to have a baby, or you want to do this, because there's that kind of energy. No, I know you don't. No, you don't. Don't worry, that's not going to happen.
The universe doesn't get that order.
No, I don't. Moving on to that. But, you know what I mean, right? So if I did see Gabriel with some people, that would be that you want to have a baby. For you, it's like, no, she's helping you with your children and doing the things that you want to do, right? So so that to me can be a real clue as to where the person is. what they're actually dealing with and how they are supported. So sometimes at the beginning of a reading, that is the first thing that I'll see is the archangel or archangels around them. And that can give us a real direction as to where they're going in their lives. Yeah.
I love that. Really love that. Because that's kind of like your heads up on what they're not telling you.
Right. Or they can be like, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask you, actually. Or, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I was thinking about this, but yeah, that makes sense. So it's like it gives us the context sometimes of where to work. And sometimes it can be super obvious. And sometimes it can be like, oh, I'm not quite sure. And then maybe later on we'll discover like, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, and that's the other thing is sometimes for me, you know, a lot of trust is involved because it won't always necessarily make sense. Even what before I share the message and even during. And sometimes I have to go, you know, I maybe just got that a little bit off. But sometimes it's because later on it makes a lot more sense than it did at the time. So it does involve a lot of trust. And I feel like every time I start working in this way, I'm always like, whoa, what's going to happen? You know, what's actually going to be said? Because I have no idea. But that's part of the work, I think, isn't it? You know, we just don't have a clue.
Anything could come in.
Anything, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Anna, for spending an hour with us today.
No, it's been so fun.
It's been really, really lovely. And I can't believe, you know, how quickly these hours disappear. And I've got the lovely Amy Halpin next.
Oh, lovely. You've got so many lovely people on today. I'm really looking forward to I'm going out a bit later, but I'll probably be able to catch a bit of Amy. So that's really cool. Thank you very much, Emma.
Thank you for your time. I'm going to run off. I've got to end each interview like this, okay? This has been the one for the day. I'm going to go and have a wee and get a pizza, and then I'll be back with Amy.
Oh, nice. Thank you so much for that piece of information. And yeah, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to talk with you, Emma.
It was lovely to have you. And I think that it's just, I could talk to you all day. I really could. We could go with this all day long and we would still be coming up with new and exciting things. And I've just kind of gone, I must reread my notes from my last reading. So I'm going to do that as well.
Absolutely. Sometimes also when you come back to it a little bit, you're like, oh, wow, I'd forgotten about that, or I hadn't even realised that. So it can be a bit multi-layered like that, which is really nice because sometimes at the time you have kind of forgotten half of the information. So yeah, do.
The gift that keeps on giving.
It is. All right, lots of love.
Thank you. Bye.